people who live in our city. Give all the members of this council wisdom and insight to know what is best for our city. Help us to be fair and just in all our decisions. Bless us all to do the very best we can. With your help and guidance, we pray this in your name. Amen. We'll now call this meeting to order. And we will do our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
to the republic
for which it stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everyone. We apologize for the audio difficulties we were having. I blame the cicadas outside that I can hear very clearly, even sitting here in council chambers as the invasion is in full swing. So we will now turn it over to Ms. DeWald to do the call the roll.
Ms. Dukes-Dean.
Here, present.
Ms. Blythe.
Here.
Ms. Underwood.
Here.
Mr. Miller-Novak.
Here.
Ms. Orb.
Here.
Ms. Hartman.
Here.
Ms. Anderson.
Here.
All seven are present.
Thank you, Ms. DeWald. All right, please direct your attention to tonight's agenda.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson,
I'll move to adopt tonight's agenda for June 7th, 2021.
can we hold that real quick? Because I just wanted to point out one thing. We have remarks from the audience before legislation, and then further remarks from the audience after legislation. And I noticed that was on the last meeting as well that I was not at, but that had not been how the agenda had been running. So I just want to make sure everybody is aware of that and understands.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald.
this was customary before COVID that we would have 2 times that the audience would have the opportunity to speak. We removed the first one because we were no longer meeting in session, and it was just kind of redundant at that point. Now with being hybrid, we have an opportunity for folks to show up, and so that's why I put it back on. But if council wishes, we can just remove it. I guess until further notice, or I don't know if that takes what it takes to keep it off of there permanently, if that's what your goal is.
I don't have a goal. I just wanted to make sure we were all tracking to that. So,
Okay.
Ms. Anderson, you still have a motion?
Yeah, I'm fine with it staying on there.
Okay.
Mr. President, I'll second.
Motion for Ms. Anderson. Second for Ms. Zorb. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
just to kind of address your question, it would be my opinion that if if a citizen came to our meeting, they would more than likely, I guess not necessarily, but they could possibly be wanting to address council about legislation. So I would think that the remarks from the audience should be at a minimum before we read the legislation.
Okay.
If we removed one, I'd almost think it'd be after.
And again, I wasn't asking one way or the other. I just noticed that
It
on the
was
last
different.
two that was back in there. And
Sure.
I didn't know if there had been any discussion in the past meeting, but I didn't see where there was any. So just wanted to make sure. So, all right, please call the roll.
So, Mr. President, no adjustments to the agenda.
No, ma'am.
Thank
The
you.
motion is to adopt the agenda.
Thank you. Ms. Dukes-Dean.
Present.
Yes.
It's yes or no now, Ms.
I'm
Dixon.
sorry. Yes.
You'll get it eventually.
I'm yelling
Blythe.
at kids. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Mr. Miller-Novak. Hello?
Yes, sorry.
Ms. Orb.
Yes.
Ms. Hartman.
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adopt the agenda passes 7-0.
Thank you, Ms. DeWald. You should have the agenda for, I'm sorry, you should have the minutes from the meeting on 5/17.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood,
I move to adopt the minutes from May 17th.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson.
I'll second that motion.
All right, I have the motion for Ms. Underwood, second for Ms. Anderson to adopt the minutes from May 17th. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Jukes Dean,
Yes.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Orb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adopt the minutes passes 7-0.
Thank you. All right, what communications do we have there, Ms. DeWald?
I sent in an email, a records request from Ms. Amber Bailey. And then also I added on the communication list, the COVID proclamation from our mayor.
Any questions for the clerk of council?
Mr. President,
Mr. Mosby?
I do think that I guess the records request seems to be, I would think, an unusual item to have on the council agenda since it's usually an administrative matter.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I believe that a part of the records request was to have the records request added to the council agenda. I'm not really certain how that works, but I think it was actually in the it was in the request.
Yes, it was specifically called out to have this email included under communications for all council meetings until the public records request is fulfilled. So Ms. DeWald and I had spoken about this earlier today, and I do know that she is working on fulfilling the request. So any other questions,
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald?
I'd like to add to that it's a lot of the work is being done by Ms. Ari Hall. We're working in conjunction, but when we get stuff, we'll all be included on the email. Well, myself, Ms. Hall, and, the powers that be. I'm not sure the council's going to be left in that thread of back and forth.
Yes, ma'am. All right, thank you. All right, we'll move to council committees, starting with City Community Development and Recreation.
We have, oh, sorry. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
We have not met since the last council meeting, and our next meeting is going to be next Monday, June 14th at 6 p.m. See you there.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Next, Budget and Finance.
We have also not met since our last meeting, and we're meeting this coming Monday at 6:30 p.m.
You're meeting at 7.
Ms.
7.
Anderson says your meeting's at 7, sir.
No.
Yeah. Sorry,
No, I
Sorry.
was wrong. He's at 7:30. I'm at 6:30.
Oh, 6:30 and 7:30. Okay.
that's right. 7:30. Sorry, it's a holdover from when I used to run rules and public policy at 6:30. It's 7:30 this coming Monday.
Thank you. And speaking of rules and public policy, that's next.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had to cancel the Rules and Public Policy meeting on May 24th, unfortunately. So our next meeting will be on June 28th.
And public safety.
I had to cancel the public safety meeting on May 24th. And our next meeting for public safety will all be at 7:30 on June 28th.
So public safety, June 28th at 7:30, and rules and public policy, June 28th at 6:30 p.m.
That is correct.
All right, thank you. Anyone have any ad hoc reports?
I do have the minutes from the Unified Progress Committee meeting. We met on, with your permission, Mr. Mosby, I know that you're there. You were taking minutes from the first portion of the meeting.
Yes, because I wasn't there for the whole meeting.
Okay, so there was no second meeting in May. We met on June the 1st at 6:30. Our meetings will now be the second and fourth Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. We talked about the track being open. So the track is now open for citizens to walk around the track in the morning. And the members of the committee are actually going to take turns closing the track so that we can open up the track for citizens to walk around the track in the evening. So we will now, the track at the high school will now, soon it will be open for citizens in the mornings as well as the evenings, so that they can walk around the track. Obviously, no one would be able to walk around the track while school is in session. So just be mindful of that. Let's see. I believe that's going to start the week of June 14th was our goal. We also talked about having a drive-in movie night at LifeSpring Church. There's no firm date yet for that, but we are planning to make that happen. We also talked about the possibility of having a block party. Someone reached out to the mayor, just really interested in having the block party. So that's something that we're working on as well. We talked about the islands and how they're in bad shape and how we can best get them so that they look professional and so they look kind of look better. We kind of bounced around the idea of having citizens show up for a volunteer day of planting flowers and pulling weeds. We talked about that. We also talked about possibly hiring a professional company to do the weeding and the mulching and landscaping. So that's something that we did talk about. We also talked about a food truck day, I believe that's what this is. I don't even understand my own handwriting. You can believe that. And the possibility of their, approaching council about the zoning for food trucks. We talked about planters. Attorney Pat Boss actually purchased some planters for outside of her office building. She mentioned that the cost of the planters were $120, which she thought was very reasonable, and they have a 5-year warranty. There was more discussion of the block party and maybe perhaps having it on the same day as the world's longest yard sale, which is actually going to be the first weekend in August this year. So we're gonna actually just commit one meeting to planning the block party. So our next meeting is June 22nd at 6:30 p.m. And I would just remind everyone that our meetings are the second and fourth Tuesday of every month.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Any other ad hoc reports?
Mr. President,
Ms. Orb?
I don't have an ad hoc report, but I do have a question about a committee meeting. May I ask?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Miller Novak, I just wanted to confirm, do we need to schedule an executive session for the next finance meeting?
Yeah, it's a good question. We did decide that we planned on it. So,
Okay.
yeah, so I guess we need to set up an extra ICRC-TV link, right?
Yes. I'll
Thank you
work on that.
for-
Thank you.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yep.
Thank you, Ms. Ord. Any other ad hoc reports? Hearing none, we will move to the administrative reports and turn it over to the mayor, Ms. Nichols.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to also piggyback on what Ms. Underwood was discussing with the track for the school. I know I had asked at one time if anyone would be committed or available to or willing to close the track. You can pick one day. If you can't do it, there's a team of us who have committed to certain days that we can go up and lock the track up. It's 8:30 in the evening. Right now, we're not doing weekends, as she said. It's just Monday through Friday. And we really want to get this open. Believe it or not, we get several calls at the high school about the track, and people are wanting to do walking teams and so forth. So if anyone is interested, you can let myself know, Mr. Mosby, Ms. Underwood, Mr. Miller Novak, and we can add you. There'll be a lockbox there. Only the people who are opening or will actually locking up will have access to it. You'll put the key back. That's all you're responsible to do, is make sure people are off the track and that it is locked up. I wanted to, I'm not sure, if Ms. Anderson, if you're still looking for information on the tree program, but I was doing some research, looking through some things, and it was back in July of 2020 where I had to sign a document. I have an address of where it was sent. I don't know if that will help you with the contact there, but the letter that I had to write was stating that we were interested in participating in the 2020 Taking Root Energy Saving Trees program. So I know there's been some talk about NCH going green in a couple of the meetings that I've been in, where we want to be more of a green city. And I don't know if that would help you or not, but I'll be willing to give you that address if you want us to still reach out to them. One of the other things that I just want to let everybody know, that we're still interviewing for the mayor's court clerk position. I have a couple more that I need to interview. There were several applicants, and just weeding through those. We want to make sure we get the right person. So the rest of the things that I had, I believe Mr. Mosby had those, so I am going to give the rest of my time for him to speak on those things as well, so it won't be as repetitive. And that's all I have. No, I did have one more thing. I'm sorry. I had a meeting some time ago with a gentleman by the name of Rufus Johnson. Mr. Johnson does a lot of things within the city of Cincinnati with gun safety. And he was asking me if I thought that there was a need for us to have any type of gun safety classes here in NCH. I told him I wasn't quite sure, but we know gun violence is like a real big issue any and everywhere. And he does like gun safety, gang training in different communities. I know he has a big program that he just opened up, or he didn't open, but he's running in one of the recreation centers in Cincinnati. So I'm not sure if that is something of interest to us if we wanted to host something like that. I'd be willing to take any feedback. He does do, gosh, it just slipped my mind, concealed carry classes as well as the gun safety. And I do think it's important, he does a class for children as well. So if anyone is interested, or if you know anyone is interested, if it seems like it's something that we as a community might want to host, I can get with him and see what we can do to work out. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any questions for the mayor?
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
are you talking about the 09-2020 ordinance?
I'm not sure no, this was dated, it may have been 09-2020, but the letter that I had to send out was July 23rd, 2020. So we started to talk about it maybe in May and June, and I had a deadline, which was probably August, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I
4
mean, I'll
days?
take anything if you want to send it my way.
Okay,
And then also, I can volunteer to do some of the lockup for the track in the evening as well, if you want to put my name on a list.
okay, if I'm
And
not mistaken, I think it was either Monday or Thursday. Was Monday or Thursday the hot date, Erica and Matt and Ron, do you recall?
I believe.
Couldn't
we-
do Monday, so nobody could do Mondays. We took Mondays out.
I
It
can't
was
do Monday.
Thursday.
No, I
Uh,
think that I volunteered for Thursdays. I
Tuesday.
I can't remember which day it was. I'm sorry, Tracy.
Okay, you took 2.
Let me see if I wrote that down.
Okay,
Well,
but,
if you just want to put me down as like somebody who can cover when people are busy
Okay.
or something.
all right, thank you.
And Ms.
I think our idea
Dusty,
was going to be that we were going to actually have a schedule that would be put
Yeah.
together. And so we can put people in those available dates if, if a person isn't able to make a Monday or Tuesday. At the time that we decided that each member would just take a day, it was basically because we didn't have anybody else at the time to volunteer. But I think
Volunteer, yeah.
we're adding people, right? Then we can just go ahead and create that schedule.
actually, it was Pat that took 2 days.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Anderson. We
And
will
Ms.
add you.
Dustin, she said that she would take a day as well.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Ms. Zorb?
Madam Mayor, I also have, I don't know, I guess I'd call it a question. So it was brought to my attention, again, by social media, that as we're doing the construction on Sundale, that part of the contract was to cut down a bunch of trees. And so all the trees that gave those blocks character are now gone. And now we're talking about being a tree city. So I'm wondering if perhaps there's anything that we can do to replant the trees in the blocks on Sundale that were just recently in last week's cut down.
I just, within the last few months, was made aware that was already in that contract and in that bid to cut those down. I will tell you, I am not in agreement with cutting down any trees, because
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
that was part of the reason, when I purchased my home, it was tree lined, and I love the trees, except when there's a million cicadas in them, but otherwise.
It's only every 17 years.
Seems like every other year, but I don't see a problem where you shouldn't be able to, because I was told that if we wanted to, we can replant them on my street. I don't know. I haven't seen anything that said that we could not, and you're absolutely right. If we're trying to be a tree city, the purpose of that is to plant trees in different spots. So I was just on Sundale and I didn't even notice. Is it further up towards the dead? Which end is it?
Mr. President.
Just north, in between Betts and Savannah, I think. I don't know. I can't remember which block I was in.
Mr. Mosby?
Might have been Simpson
you.
and Betts.
The trees did need to be cut down, and the reason that the trees needed to be cut down was 2 reasons. One, they are replacing the sewer lines on Sundale, and number 2, they are widening the street in that area. So they actually had to take from those tree lawns that you are referring to, they had to take approximately 2.5 feet. So it wasn't just to take the trees down arbitrarily. It was for the purpose of constructing the right of way for the street. The trees can be replanted. We are looking at some grants for some different trees to replant. I did have one resident that specifically asked, and we absolutely will work with her to get the trees replaced. So I do want to just make sure that people are very clear that this was not just an arbitrary decision to cut trees down.
Mr. Mosby, I don't think I said that. I don't think I implied that. I just said that if we want to be a tree city, then we have to kind of reverse our effect of cutting trees down. That was my only point. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
sorry to change the pace. Mayor Nichols, I would love to hear more about the gun safety classes. I think that would be a great idea. So if there's anything I can do to help, or if you just want to hear that somebody supports it, I support it. Let me know if I can do
Okay.
anything.
All right, thank you.
All right, next we have the city administrator's report. Mr. Mosby.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will apologize in advance if my report seems protracted for this month. However, there is a great deal that is currently happening in our city as well as what is on the horizon. So I'm reporting on these items in no particular order, and their place in this report should not be construed as an indicator of their importance or their priority. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the transit center. As you know, I've been working with both Metro and the property owner of the property, located at the corner of Goodman and Galbraith to build a transit center at that location. The good news is that a grant application has been submitted for the project. Earlier, OKI had endorsed the project and placed it in their long-range planning list. Now that that application has been submitted, I'll keep you updated on its progress as I receive new developments. Later this month, on June 22nd, we will be meeting with representatives for the newly established full-time firefighters union to draft an initial collective bargaining agreement. Currently, there are 3 members of this unit, and they've been working without a formal agreement. The meeting is scheduled to be here in this building at 9 a.m. And I mentioned this in the event, Mr. President, the council wishes to send a member to represent council at that initial meeting. Additionally, the contracts for both the full-time police officers and the part-time police officers expire at the end of this year. My intent is to begin discussions with the representatives of each of those bargaining units in October. Again, if council wishes to appoint representatives to attend those meetings, please let me know so that we can prepare accordingly. In addition to the contracts expiring for the police department, the current police levy is also set to expire, which means that we will need to have a levy placed on the ballot in November 2022 to either renew or replace our current 4.9 mil levy. That levy currently is the highest levy of the 4 operating levies that we have. We've been very busy in the Public Works Department. The Galbraith-Goodman Road project should be completed in July, and the Sundale Avenue project, as mentioned earlier, is now underway. We're also preparing for the Hamilton Avenue project coming up in 2022. And if you all remember, I explained to you that that is the one that will need money of $590,000 that we will need to pay out in February of 2022 as a single cash payment. The plan for that project is for us to partner with Mount Healthy and for the Ohio Department of Transportation to sell the project as one joint project, extending from our southernmost border to Mount Healthy's northernmost border. I've also received correspondence from ODOT District 8 last week that our safety improvement project has been delayed because it was determined that the winning bidders were not qualified per ODOT standards. Therefore, the project must go out for bid again, and it is expected that we should be able to have the project awarded by the end of July. Additionally, we received numerous calls and orders for tall grass, and we're also continuing to pick up litter, especially in the business district. I do think it's also important to remind our residents, in addition to the fire levy, the police levy, that of course we have a fire levy that is on the ballot in November. That proposed 12 mil levy would replace our current 3.2 mil levy and provide the resources to hire 6 additional full-time firefighters. We completed and published the request for proposals for the update to our comprehensive plan. The deadline for bids is June the 15th at noon, at which time we will receive and open all of the bids. It appears that there's been good interest in this project. And by the way, I actually had some help, which I appreciated. There was a student from Northern Kentucky University who is in part of their MPA program, and he did some great work to help put together a more robust and complete RFP. So I anticipate that based on the expectations placed in the RFP, it would take approximately a year to 18 months to complete the update. As mentioned earlier, I think that Ms. Underwood announced this, but there will be a drive-in movie. We are partnering with LifeSpring Community Church to conduct this. The proposed dates that we have are Wednesday, July the 14th, with a rain date of Wednesday, July the 28th. I think this will be a great way to put together a family event for the summer. Also, DAV, our local DAV chapter, is going to also participate in that as well. And actually, LifeSpring has equipment to be able to do this drive-in movie. When we did it in 2019, we had to rent the equipment, but I believe that they do have their own equipment. So it ought to be a very nice event. And right now it's proposed that it would take place in their parking lot, but that is not certain. So what we're just doing right now is letting people know that the date is July the 14th, and we'll give the details later. Finally, I would like to take a moment to reflect. It has been a little over 2 years since I've been in this position. When I arrived, one of the first traffic items I had to deal with was the backup on Hamilton Avenue. I sat immediately to meet with our electrical contractor, who informed me that it was the first time he had ever met with a city administrator. We discovered what the problem was and immediately took steps to rectify the problem. And of course, as you all know, traffic has been flowing smoothly on Hamilton Avenue since we've repaired the equipment. Additionally, less than 6 months into the job, I was challenged with reducing the current year's budget, that year's budget, by $250,000 so that we would be able to end the year balanced, which we did. And then, of course, 2020 came and brought us COVID-19, and that brought a whole new set of challenges. Nevertheless, we completed 2020 with a positive cash balance without laying off one city employee. Additionally, I completely rewrote the specifications for our waste collection contract and ensured that our residential rates were enough to cover the expenses to cover the contract. But most importantly, I believe that what I have done the most is been able to bring a level of trust to this position. And I believe that the work that the department heads and I have accomplished has helped to improve many areas of our city. Of course, there's still much work to do. However, I am proud of what this team led by Mayor Tracy Nichols has accomplished in this brief period. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mosby. And hard to believe that it has been 2 years. Goes quick, doesn't it?
If you ask Mrs. Mosby, that's not surprising at all.
All right. Any questions for the city administrator?
Mr. President.
Ms. Orb.
So I know that I have asked about this before and it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't received well, but I'm going to ask about the street sweeper one more time. And so I've seen it, so I know we've purchased it. And I remember Mr. Cole asking for the street sweeper in his, I guess, the wish list that the department heads put together at the beginning of last year. And he also mentioned that there were several, I'll call them, there were several variations of street sweepers. And one had a sewer clean out attachment. And I'm probably butchering the description, but that's what's in my recollection. So I'm wondering if we bought that version or if we bought a different version. And then my subsequent questions are, do we have any schedules for street sweeping? Because I would think even though we could still even sweep like Hamilton and Galbraith, I don't know, monthly, if that's what it took. If we truly wanted to get on this litter thing and we wanted to make our city look better, that's an easy win. And then the second subsequent questions would be, if we do have that sewer clean out version, do we have a schedule for sewers to be cleaned out? Because I know that the last time it rained really hard, my street was just flooded with water because the sewers couldn't drain. And then I guess one more question would be, have we cleaned any streets with it yet, with the new one?
Sorry, I'm writing these to make sure.
I haven't written if you.
I think I got them all wrote down.
Okay. I think I'll go to the beginning. So last time that this inquiry was made, I do believe I did make an error. I think I spoke of the 2020 budget. And what I should have said was the 2021 budget. The street sweeper was purchased this year, and there was an amount in of $150,000 that was allocated in the Public Works fund for capital. So I think I erroneously said 2020. So I do apologize for that error. I don't remember, to be honest right now, which version of the street sweeper that you were talking about. You're right. There were several, but I think the one that we have does have a clean out. But I know that we also had a situation just today where one street in particular that we had did have a problem, and he mentioned that he was going to have to call a contractor because of the problem that it had in that particular sewer. But I can ask him about that. Or also, and I don't remember if Ms. Hall recollects specifically the kind, but perhaps if she has it, she may be able to explain it in her report as well. But you asked about a few other things. You said, what schedule do we have for the street sweeper? When we were renting, a street sweeper in 2020, what we did was we did have certain days and weeks because we could only get the street sweeper during those particular times. We were renting from Colerain Township. Now that it's ours, no, we don't have a particular schedule because we can take it out whenever we have that opportunity to go ahead and clean. And so one of the reasons, and someone else had asked about this too, that we weren't putting the no parking signs up, because if the street sweeper comes around and for some reason there is a car there, they can come back and they can get it because the cars don't sit there the whole time. So unlike what we were doing last year, where we only had the street sweeper for a week and we were renting it, we have the street sweeper available at our convenience. Now I will say that we've actually already loaned out the street sweeper because we have an agreement with Mount Healthy. And so, of course, they pay us to use our street sweeper. And basically, that charge, the agreement, the rates that we have agreed to annualize, that basically pays for the street sweeper itself. What schedule we have for the sewer? Again, that one I would have to check with Marty. I do not know that one off the top of my head. And then finally, you asked, have we cleaned streets? Yes, we've already cleaned several of the streets in the city.
Thank you, Mr. Mosby. Any other questions for Mr. Mosby?
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
I was just wondering if there was an update. I know that there was talk of trash cans that were going to be put around the city from the business. I can never think.
Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Chamber of Commerce. I can never think of what's called. Have those been do we have those yet? Have they been placed out? Is there a schedule for where or when they're going to be placed out?
Yes, the cans have arrived. Number one. Number two, the chamber has also told me that their money is available, so they'll be able to reimburse us for that. And so, yes, those cans, and then of course with the cans, Keep Cincinnati Beautiful is through, I guess, a partnership with them. They will put a recycling container next to the trash can. So those should be, you should be seeing those coming up within the next couple of weeks as well.
Is there places where you guys have planned to put those out? Do you know of? Or
Primarily in the heavily trafficked areas. So on Hamilton Avenue, in places I'm not going to say you specifically, but for example, let me use Galbraith. Right now there is a can that's on Galbraith and Savannah. There's another can that's on Galbraith and Simpson. So they would, be put in those places where some of those older cans are, but they're not as pretty, I guess, as they used to be. Wear and tear has gotten them. But then also on Hamilton Avenue, for example, down by where U.S. Savings Bank is, or on the other side where you have the Valvoline or the Hair Palace. So they will be put in areas where we do have high traffic areas.
Are we getting rid of the old trash cans?
Those, yes. Yes. In other words, we want our trash cans to be uniform. So we will be replacing.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Mosby.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Law Director's Report. Mr. Dieters.
Mr. President, thank you. I don't necessarily have a report this evening. I did have, like, when I logged on, I had heard that there was a public records request from a citizen and that requested that to be read at council. Certainly that's your discretion as president. I just wanted to make it clear that there's be no duty in the law for you to do anything like that. So I don't want to establish some kind of precedent for those that may be watching this to believe that you're doing that because you have a legal obligation to do so. That's your discretion. But other than that, I don't have anything else. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. President.
Mr. Dieters, any questions?
Yes, Mr. President.
Ms. Underwood.
So Mr. Dieters, can you verify for us when the order expires, allowing us to meet virtually?
Yes, Mrs. Underwood, that expires at the end of June. So effective July 1, unless that's extended by the governor's office, that order would expire by its natural language at the end of June.
Any other questions for Mr. Dieters? All right, thank you, Mr. Dieters. Next, Finance Director, Ms. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually do not have anything. I just want to address a few comments. The street sweeper, yes, was purchased this year, 2021. It was budgeted actually in our street fund. As far as the attachment that Ms. Zorb was speaking of, I am not 100% sure what that is. I can circle back with you on that. I am aware that there was some sort of attachment that was purchased for it, but I'm not 100% sure what it was. And as far as the public records request that is on council's agenda, that is something my office is currently working on.
I'm sorry, she faded off.
She said that's something her office is currently working.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Any questions for the Finance Director? Okay. Next item on the agenda is call of members. Start with Ms. Dukes-Dean.
Present.
It's call of members.
Oh,
You
I'm
have
sorry.
anything?
I don't have anything new. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Blythe?
No comment at this time.
Ms. Underwood?
Thank you, Mr. President. So I guess I was mistaken about when I have to come back to the building, and it's been my greatest honor and pleasure to be able to sit in my craft room and participate in these meetings.
Are those words hard to swallow, Ms. Underwood?
I guess I will see you all.
I got a seat for you right here.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Mr. Miller-Novak?
I have nothing.
I have a seat for you right here too.
Oh, that's fine. I'll see you there, I guess. Actually, I think I'll be out of town maybe the next meeting, so.
Well,
My
I did
first
want to
time
add that.
My first
you-
time
you-
back may be in August after all.
You did an admirable job filling in for me. I don't think that anybody even missed me, so thank you for that.
Oh, they missed you.
Mm.
I can guarantee that.
Mr.
I
President,
promise.
there was quite a bit of snark coming from that,
Oh, is
position.
that the case?
Yes.
I did watch most of the movie. I didn't get through all of it.
Fell asleep.
But I did want to thank you, Mr. Miller Novak, for filling in for me, as I know that is your duty. I promise, no more absences for me. Ms. Zorb.
I just have one question. I was wondering, Ms. Underwood, are we ever going to kick off the police task force?
Yes, Ms. Zorb. Yes, absolutely. Yes. I will, yes.
I think it's
Your question
affirmative.
has been answered.
Did you mean yes?
Could you
All right,
clarify,
thank you.
please?
Oh, and well, I'll address it offline. I got one more thing.
Does that mean you're finished
That means I'm finished, yes.
for now? Yep. Thank you, Ms. Zorb. Ms. Hartman.
I have nothing at this time.
Thank you. And Ms. Anderson.
Thank you. So the drive-in date is Wednesday, July 14th, with the rain check on the 28th. On the Facebook page, it says Friday, July 14th. Okay, I just don't know if
No,
what was the okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a Wednesday, but I'll
Okay,
get it correct.
cool. I figured. And then just happy Pride Month to everybody, allies, LGBTQ, anybody out there. Happy Pride Month, and that's all. Thank you.
Miss Anderson, what was the rain out date?
The 28th.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. That'll take us to legislation. Ms. DeWald, when you're ready.
Well, I have to turn the
Mr.
page.
President, I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Ms. Nichols.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe you can go under new business. I apologize.
All right. Thank you. Whenever you're ready, Ms. DeWald, legislation.
We have a first reading on ordinance 3, 2021, an ordinance adopting the first supplemental appropriation for the operating budget for calendar year 2021 for the city of North College Hill.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb.
I apologize. I probably should have done this in the committee meeting, but I finally took time to review this, and I have a couple questions for Ms. Hall, if she doesn't mind.
Go ahead.
So on the street levy fund, it's 400.000.39999, a lot of nines and then a zero. I guess I'm confused by the original budget had nothing in it. The amended budget says a deficit of 850,000, and then the increase decrease is 850,000. Can you help
Right.
me understand what that is about?
Absolutely. So as I explained in the finance committee meeting, on the summary page, that was just my communication with council to help council understand that what I'm trying to do is draw down from the fund balance that is in that fund. So that line item doesn't show up on our operating, but when I pull like our cash balances, if that's something that you want to see, or if you look at the there's like a month to date and a year to date fund report, you'll see what the beginning balance is in that particular fund. That's where that money is coming from. So it's not money that's plucked out of the air. It's just money that we're drawing down from the fund balance to increase the appropriation for Hamilton Avenue and for Sundale.
Okay. The next one, I had a question.
I'm
With
sorry,
regard-
Ms. Zorb.
Yes.
Mr. President, I should say Mr. President. Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
Ms. Zorb, I'm not really sure what you're asking about. What are you looking at? What document are you referring to?
It's in association with Ordinance 3, 2021. It's the details that go with it.
Mr. President.
Ms. Anderson.
The document that I'm looking at, that I'm pretty sure is the same one. It's called First Supplemental
Yes, I couldn't remember the word.
3821, and it's in. Give me a second, and I'll find the email for you.
Ms. Hall emailed it to us probably 2 or 3 weeks ago.
She did, and I believe Ms. DeWalt included the PDF of it in one
Yeah.
of the meeting or one of the emails regarding this meeting.
It's an email from May 27th. It was sent at 9:23 p.m.
You know, the one that I rushed to make sure I didn't get, wasn't late.
You did a great job.
If only I looked at the calendar.
Did you find it, Ms. Underwood?
No, but I'm sure I'll find it.
Okay, I'll turn
Don't
it back
stop
over to
anything
Ms.
because
Orr.
of me.
Forward it to you.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Orr.
So then the next one I had a question about, it's line item 10, it just says 101. What's the first number? It is 101. So it's 101, 101, 418, 500. It says miscellaneous income general. That's being increased by $25,000?
Yes, so that is where I've been capturing insurance payouts. So for example, when we lost a police cruiser and our insurance company paid us out, we had to capture that revenue in that line item because we don't have a specific line item for any of that. So that is just adjusting, the budget there because we didn't account for that revenue. Additionally, there had been expenditures against that revenue. For example, there was a replacement cruiser purchased for the totaled cruiser. So that's the reason why the revenue needed to be increased as well as expenditure items. There was also a transfer out of some of that into the police levy fund where they purchased the replacement cruiser.
Perfect, thank you. I think I have two more. Then when we get to the code enforcement services, it looks like the code enforcement, and I thought that was contracted, which is why I guess I'm confused. It looks like it's being increased $13,680.
Yes. The reason for that is because we're increasing citations. So the gentleman will be working, I want to say collectively an additional 12 hours per week. So I roughly estimated how much that would increase our budget. So we would have, enough budget to cover the additional work that they're doing.
So is that both gentlemen are getting an additional 12 hours a week, or just one, or just the other?
I believe both are doing code enforcement and they are being charged at the code enforcement rate. So I believe it's 6 hours a piece per week, approximately. So.
Thank you.
And those are additional hours in addition to what they're already doing, just to clarify.
Perfect. Sorry, I'm not a good page flipper. And then all the way towards the end, it's 101.101. Excuse me, I put too many 101s in there. 101.799.525100. It says land and land improvement, and that's an increase of 130,000.
Yep. Let me check my notes real quick. One.
Okay. Yes, it is.
While Ms. Hall is looking at that, I do want to point out that I had breached protocol and completely glossed over remarks from the audience on the agenda. But there is no one here in the audience and I have no attendees online. So I apologize that I just scooted right on past that after I pointed it out so eloquently.
Should I bold and highlight it next month?
You really didn't want those remarks.
Really didn't.
So then while she's looking at that, if it's okay, we'll just go on to the next one and she can come back with the answer when she's ready. Is that okay?
I'm good with that, yes.
Okay.
I'm actually ready, but if you want to go
She's
on.
ready. Well, then,
ready.
That's fine. Go ahead, Ms. Hall. Thank you.
Okay. Let me click over real quick. So 101, 799, 525, 100. That is The $130,000 there, that is for the upfront expenditures for Dunley Park. As you recall, CDBG approved a grant for us in that amount, but we have to come up with that money up front, and then they reimburse us with the grant funding. So that is just us increasing that appropriation there to get the work and the planning done for Dunley Park there. Again, that expense will be reimbursed through the grant.
The total expense or portions?
I only increased that up to the total amount of the grant. So we are not going above what we've been awarded, essentially.
Wonderful. Thank you for all your answers.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hall. All right, Ms. DeWald, please go on to the next legislation item.
We have a first reading on Resolution 16, 2021, a resolution to authorize the city administrator to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Transit Infrastructure Fund programs and to execute contracts as required. And the hint in the title for this one is to actually apply for the SORTA funds for Hamilton Avenue.
Mr. President.
Mr. Mosby.
Thank you. This resolution would authorize me to go ahead and submit an application to Metro for these funds. For any member of council, just as by way of information, when the county passed the countywide levy, 25% of the funds raised as a result of the levy were going to be dedicated to improvements, basically grants that would be able to be given to municipalities in order to improve their roadways. And that is the money that is being applied for. However, the deadline for this is June the 30th. So I would be requesting that council consider suspending the readings and passing it so that I would be able to go ahead and get the application submitted before the deadline of June the 30th.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson.
I'll move to suspend the second and third readings for Resolution 2021-16.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I'll second that motion.
All right, the motion is by Ms. Anderson, second by Ms. Underwood. And the motion is to suspend second and third readings on Resolution 16-2021. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
very briefly, I think that we can all agree that the SORTA project and just all its related parts and components will be just a huge boost for our community. I know that as for just speaking as to someone who lives on Norman Avenue, if I had to catch the bus, I would have to currently walk from Norman Avenue over to Hamilton Avenue to catch a bus. And while that's probably a good health thing, I have, no desire or intentions of adding the time it would take for me to walk from, so I just would like to try to do something to help our citizens to get to where they need to be in a way, in an easier way.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
while I don't disagree that the sort of funds would be wonderful for our city, I'm curious why this wasn't brought to council sooner.
The announcement of the award was just made after the last meeting in May. And this is the first meeting that we've had since the announcement was made.
All right, thank you. Ms. DeWald, when you're ready, please call the roll.
1 minute, please.
Yes, ma'am.
All righty, to suspend the readings on Resolution 16, 2021. Ms. Dukes Dean?
We could not hear you, ma'am.
Yes, I agree to suspend the readings.
Thank you.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak?
Yes.
Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Hartman?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. President, motion to suspend passes 7-0.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
I'll move to adopt Resolution 16-2021.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I'll second that motion.
Motion from Ms. Anderson, second from Ms. Underwood to adopt Resolution 16-2021. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukes Dean?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak?
Yes.
Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Hartman?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Motion to adopt passes 7-0.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We have a second reading on resolution number 13, a resolution to decertify residential rental registration assessments to the county auditor for placement on the tax duplicate. We have a second reading on resolution 14, 2021, a resolution to certify commercial rental registration assessments to the county auditor for placement on the tax duplicate. We have a second reading on resolution 15, 2021, a resolution to certify residential rental registration assessments to the county auditor for placement on the tax duplicate.
Okay, thank you, Ms. DeWalt. Next item on the agenda is further remarks from the audience as it pertains to legislation. As we had before, there are no one in attendance here and there are no attendees online. So we'll move to old business.
Mr. President,
Ms. Blythe.
I can't remember if somebody can confirm something, when, Mrs. Glenda Smith came to meet with us, I guess, a few weeks back. There was an email that something positive came out of that presentation or something positive happened after. Can someone refresh me on that? It's the juvenile court issue.
Mr. President,
Mr. Miller Novak.
I think that the positive outcome is she ended up discovering that the county had joined that localized program that she described to us. I'm forgetting the initials of it, but that part of her discussion was kind of wanting the county judges to join that, not knowing why they had not, because we were the only metropolitan area where that was not the case. But she ended up discovering that Hamilton County had recently joined the juvenile program that she described to us.
JDAI.
Okay, now I remember. Thank you. I knew it was something because I saw it in an email. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Zorb, do you want to give the acronym again?
It's a JDAI, Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiative.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other old business?
Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Ms. Underwood.
I'm sitting here. I don't even know what was going on through my head. So I'm going to remind my colleagues that I am the thorn in your side called Prospect Place, and how that Prospect Place is just in deplorable condition. The street is crumbling, and it's going to be a very rainy week. So I can't imagine, what the yards and the houses are going to be like this week with all of the rain, and what they're possibly dealing with as a result of the street being in the condition that it's in. I really believe that we need to, try to make something happen. So there you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Any other old business?
Mr. President,
Ms. Orb?
I believe we still have council committee assignments. I believe that was sent to us in an email.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I know it's a dreaded subject.
Yes, Ms. DeWald sent out committee assignments.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald?
I just wanted to clarify, I sent out 2 committee assignments. One was 2020 for us to get a bearing on what needs to be done for 2021. On 2021, you'll see a highlighted area. Those are the areas that we need to look at and fill those spots. And then also in that same, maybe I did not send it, to do the reinvestment area housing and the tax incentive. It was issued through a resolution 15/2020 of last year. So I thought I had sent that in this packet, but I realized I did not. With that in mind, that sets the precedent for what needs to be done. So we have the 3 opens, and correct me if I'm wrong, and daggone it, he just left the room. So now who's going to correct me? So the reinvestment area housing, is that the CRA? I don't know either. And then the tax incentive, is that the TIF?
Tax incentive is definitely the TIF.
Okay, then these are the 2 things that were discussed in the resolution 15/2020. I can pull that up here if we've got a moment.
And we do have the CIC, which is a mayor appointment.
Correct. And then the OKI, and then the delegate for Rita.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I will say that as far as the Public Safety Committee and the Rules and Public Policy Committee, both Ms. Blythe and Ms. Anderson are both members of both of those committees.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
I know that Ms. Blythe is a member of the City and Community Development Recreation Committee as well, but I don't ever remember voting her in to be a member. I don't know, I could totally be wrong, but I don't remember doing that, but I know that we consider her a member.
Mr. President,
Ms. Blythe?
I've been attending all 4 of the committee meetings since I started.
And then if I'm just looking at the standard committee meetings, Ms. Dukes Dean still needs to join no less than 2 of them.
I will join. I'm sorry. I was trying to. I actually will join all of them. I'm fine with joining all of them. I've not been attending the ones on Tuesdays because I have not yet gotten an invite, but I have been attending all of the other committees.
And I'm sorry, what did you say about Tuesday?
I said I have not been attending the ones on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays because I have not gotten an invite. But if I do, I will join.
And that is, yes, the Unified Progress Committee. Thank you, Ms. Wood.
That's not really a council.
No, it's not a council appointed
Right.
committee. It's not a required
Right, that's not a part of
Right.
this assignment.
Correct.
But
Thank
if you
for
could still
reminding
send
me.
me an invite, I was gonna tell you that after, or text you that, Ms. Underwood. But the other ones I've been attending regularly, I will volunteer to be a part of all of them.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
I don't know how to motion to assign Ms. 16 to a committee, so that's not what I'm doing. So somebody else can do that. But I would also like to have an invitation to the Unified Progress Committee too, if you guys don't mind. I wasn't sure how to get that or how to attend those or where those are.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
so as the liaison to ICRC, I work with ICRC to schedule these. The Unified Progress is not me, not it. So I think you just have to go on, I think they're published on the city's website though, are they not?
Yes.
I believe the link is published there. So you'd be a guest, not necessarily a participant. That makes sense?
Mhm.
And then, Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion to add Ms. Dugstein to all four committees, being City Community Development, Recreation, Budget and Finance, Rules and Public Policy, and Public Safety.
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
Motion from Ms. Zorb, second by Ms. Underwood, to assign Ms. Dukes-Dean to all four committees, City and Community Development and Recreation, Budget and Finance, Rules and Public Policy, and Public Safety. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
I guess I should ask her, shouldn't I? Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
and Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, when I look at this, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but the biggest one I think is we have no one currently for OKI.
Mr. President,
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson first, please.
those
Oh,
meet on
okay.
Thursday nights, right?
Thursday day.
Thursday during the day, that's the biggest problem.
Do we know what time during the day?
10. I thought it was somewhere around there.
I can't do Thursdays. That's
The
not-
meeting is 1 hour.
What's his name? Okay.
Ms. Underwood, you can go now.
I just wanted to, I don't see Ms. Anderson's, I'm actually looking at the 2021 list, and I don't see Ms. Anderson's name on the Rules and Public Policy Committee or the Public Safety Committee, and I believe we had voted her in. I'm just trying to verify that that occurred, and if not, then I'll move to add her now.
I'm pretty sure that we had already added her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson,
I'll move to add Ms. Belite to the City and Community Development and Recreation Committee.
I'll second
Mr.
that
President.
motion.
slight breach of protocol there. I'm going to go to Ms. Zorb, Ms. Underwood.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Got to keep you honest. All right, so we're adding Ms. Blythe the motion is to add Ms. Blythe to City and Community Development and Recreation. That motion is by Ms. Anderson, second by Ms. Zorb. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to add Ms. Blythe passes 7-0.
Thank you. I mean, I don't know if at some point I'm gonna have to draw a name out of a hat or what to get some of the rest of these filled, but at this point, unless somebody's volunteering, we can move on, but I want to get this resolved at our next meeting.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
when is ICRC?
I'm ICRC.
Okay, because it says that there are two open there. I know that one of them's appointed by the mayor, but I don't know if she's just looking for somebody to volunteer for her to.
CIC.
So
That's-
the open one there is under reinvestment area housing. And
On
there's a
the-
ICRC is filled by Ms. Zorb.
Okay.
I
so-
volunteered for CIC. I just was not able to attend the last meeting, but I will be there. I think it's the third Thursday, so.
On the document that I have, it says that there are two openings in ICRC. So that was my bad. Sorry.
On
ICRC.
ICRC is just one, that's Ms. Zorb.
CIC.
That's what you're looking at?
Mm,
Are you looking at the 2020 or the 20?
Reinvestment area housing.
I don't think there's ever been two on ICRC.
is right there.
And this is open.
That's this one, reinvestment.
Okay. I see what you mean.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWalt?
I'd like to clarify, Mr. Mosby, I have Mr. Matt Melanovac as TIF, and I wanted to be sure that the Tax Incentive Review Committee, that is the TIF, correct?
No, that isn't
It is
correct.
not.
Right, that's not correct.
Okay,
Those are two separate.
so the reinvestment area housing appointment, is that the CRA?
Correct.
Okay, so we need one for CRA and two for the tax incentive. So TIF is all by itself. And just to kind of back up a little bit, in 2020, we had an interim, which was the now resigned Miss Bailey, and no second person. And I believe
Sorry, Mr. President.
Ms. Anderson?
I'm pretty sure at the last meeting or maybe the meeting before that, I volunteered to do the reinvestment area housing appointee. I could be wrong.
Okay, so you will be the tax incentive?
The CRA.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I volunteered for the CRA last time.
Okay, so I can put you down then for the CRA?
Yeah.
Do we have to motion that?
Mr. President,
Wait, I think we already did.
Do we need a
for it
motion?
Last.
We can. I mean, I can write down yeses all over the place.
Mr. President,
Ms. Blythe?
I don't see CRA. Is it going by another name?
Yes.
It's under the reinvestment area housing appointments.
Oh, that's CRA.
That is CRA.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein?
I'd like to volunteer for CIC.
You cut out, ma'am.
I said I'd like to volunteer for CIC. Did you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. That time I did. So currently, I thought we had, and that is mayor appointed. I thought Ms. Blythe was potentially taking that open spot.
So,
Mr.
Mr. President,
Mr. Mosby, if you correct me, I do believe there are two positions because when Mr. Williams left, that left a position. Or maybe it is just one, because I looked at Ms. Underwood. Remember?
Madam Mayor, I see Ms. Underwood as one of the appointments, and that would leave one open, and Ms. Blythe was supposed to be working on that.
Mr. President,
Mr. Mosby?
I think, I would want to make it clear, though, that the CIC it's a nonprofit organization, but anyone is welcome to come in and join. So a person doesn't need to be appointed to participate. There is an appointment or appointments that are made by the mayor, but any resident can come in and participate in the meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President,
Ms. Blythe?
when does the Tax Incentive Review Council meet?
Mr. President,
Mr. Mosby.
So the CIA, the CRA, which is a Community Reinvestment Area Council, and then the TIRC, those would meet on an as-needed basis. There is no schedule for those right now. We only have one property that is actually applied for CRA, and that is the property that's being built on Merle. But they would only need to begin to meet once that CRA has been approved, and then it would have to be inspected on a regular basis, on an annual basis, actually.
Mr. President.
Ms. Anderson.
So the Tax Incentive Review Council also only meets on an as-needed basis?
Correct.
I'll join that.
Okay, so just to make it clear, then you have added you volunteered for CRA and Tax Incentive Review Council, correct?
Yeah.
Ms. Anderson.
Mhm.
Is that what you have, Ms. DeWald?
I have it now.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald?
one that's not been mentioned yet, other than me, is the delegate for Rita.
Yes,
We
there
have
is
an alternate, but we need,
an open RETA delegate.
Mhm.
Is that a regularly scheduled meeting, Mr. Mosby? Do you know?
Well, that would actually be part of the RETA board. So yes, I think that those are, but I don't know when those dates are right off the top of my head.
Mr. President,
Ms. Orb?
I believe I'm the alternate, and I can tell you I have never been to a meeting.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that I should not have been, but I've never gotten a notice to attend a meeting. How's
Yes,
that?
ma'am. All right, so that shows 3 open spots still remaining. 1 for Tax Incentive Review Council, the OKI liaison, and an open spot for the RETA delegate.
Mr.
So,
President,
Ms. Orb.
I'll take the other Tax Incentive Review Council. I'm already
Okay,
on the
there
RETA.
are no longer any open spots for the Tax Incentive Review Council. So we do need a RETA delegate. We do need an OKI liaison, and Ms. Blythe will most likely be the other appointee for the CIC. So
Mr. President.
I would like to, again, have this finalized at our next meeting and have this list fulfilled. So any other old business?
Mr. President,
Ms. Blythe?
with the OKI, that's in the morning, so if the person's a part of that and they're working 9 to 5, 8 to 5, how do they fill that position?
I would leave that up to the person who fills the position to figure out how to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Orb?
I think historically, we've been lucky enough to have people that were retired on council, like a random retired person, and they tended to fill that position. And when it was all virtual, I was able to do it for a while until my real job got extremely busy, and I don't even have the time to do it virtually right now. But again, we know it's going to be live again very shortly, so I really can't put my hat back into the ring for that.
And to be clear, I do understand why that one is still open. It is because of the timing, and currently everyone on council has a day job. So,
Thank you.
but please, yeah, somebody try and figure out how to work it out in your schedule to take care of that. Any other old business?
Mr. President, can I just add one more thing about OKI? If I believe me, I understand that everyone's busy, but there is some really, really good opportunities for the city that's talked about at OKI. There tends to be a lot of grant money at OKI. So if anyone can even possibly swing it, I feel like we're missing opportunities, and I feel to blame right now. So I apologize.
I have a couple questions about OKI.
Mr. Miller Novak?
Does it have to be a council member, or is it a member of administration can attend it on behalf of council occasionally?
Mr. Milanovic, the board consists of elected officials from the various municipalities.
Mr. President,
I'm sorry, who was that?
that was Ms. Underwood.
Ms. Underwood, sorry, I had the wrong screen up.
I just, I have a follow-up question to Mr. Miller Novak's question. So if I were the person who was appointed to the OKI board, I understand what Mr. Mosby was saying, that it's all elected officials. Can I send someone to attend the meeting in my place who is not an elected official?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know the answer to that. We would have to find out, but that doesn't sound like it's probably an option.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
is it every Thursday?
No, it's I believe it's the second Thursday of every month.
Second Thursday.
Okay, last call for old business. We'll move to new business.
Mr. President,
Mr. Mosby.
I apologize if this wouldn't be under new business, but I wanted to address an issue that came up that was actually around the Unified Progress Committee and ICRC. I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that while the meetings are being held via Zoom right now, I have talked to ICRC and they've actually said that once the restriction is lifted, basically, they are not going to be able to have the people to cover it. So we will be meeting in these chambers. So we won't be doing the Zoom meetings. The last Zoom meeting that we'll have will be as Ms. Underwood said, the fourth Tuesday, which I believe is the 22nd of this month. And then we'll be back to the regular meetings, just like our CIC or Planning Commission meetings.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President,
Ms. Nichols.
initially I said I had new business, but that was before I found council's schedule. I was looking over it just to remind everyone that Monday, and which you probably already know, after the 4th, the city is closed on the 5th. I couldn't find it for myself, so I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, the meeting that month is on the 6th, on
On the
Tuesday.
Tuesday, right.
Yes. Thank you. That's a good reminder, though, because I wasn't really thinking about it at this time.
President,
Correct. And that's, Ms. Zorb is just reminding me as well, we are in summer session, so we only have one regularly scheduled council meeting. It is the first Monday of June, which is this meeting, July and August. There is no second meeting on the third Monday.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein?
this is new business. In lieu of us coming back together physically, are we still going to continue doing the virtual option for our audience? And I know for my workplace, we're not yet back in the office, and we don't have a return date as of yet. And but what our organization has learned is that things can get done virtually. So I'm not putting on the table to talk about, eliminating physical presence, but giving the option for times when people just cannot be there to meet virtually. Are we going to look at that and maybe extend an opportunity for that, only because it gives people in the face of when they cannot meet face to face, their vote and their voice to be present?
Yeah, and I hear you and I understand what you're saying, but as we are subject to the rules of the Open Meetings Act, the only reason we have been allowed to this point to have meetings virtually or even the hybrid model was due to legislation that was passed by our Ohio reps and senators stating that through the end of this month, we could have virtual meetings. Once that expires, I don't believe that we can just go out on our own and say we're going to do virtual meetings. I believe we are required by law. And maybe Mr. Miller Novak would like to chime in a little bit, since this is kind of his area of expertise, to go back to meeting in person, which would also mean our audience would also have to come back in person.
Well, I think if Bill's still here, I think he should chime in.
He's not. I would have asked him if he was still here.
Okay. Well, I'll take the table scraps, I guess. Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. I mean, the requirements under law is that, before COVID, the Open Meetings Act never allowed for things like proxies, which kind of answers Erica's question probably about OKI. It didn't allow council members to attend meetings by telephone or teleconferencing or anything like that. So when COVID hit, there was this kind of like a quasi temporary amendment that allowed, either teleconferencing or Zoom is what almost everybody's using, as long as those were made available publicly so people could watch the meeting, which is why we're doing what we're doing. So when that tolls out, my understanding is there'd be no option for us to do anything else. And you can't, we don't have the power to change that, aside from, because people technically a city could opt out. A charter can actually supplant the Open Meetings Act, because Ohio is a home rule state. So you can almost create your own Open Meetings Act and add different reasons to go into executive session and things like that. So theoretically speaking, we could amend our charter at some point in time to allow, Zoom meetings, but that has to be voted on by the public. A charter amendment is quite a process. So that would take probably at least a year. I think you have to appoint a charter amendment commission. It has to have a mix of citizens as well as council and the mayor. So I think we're back in chambers as of July for sure, all of us.
Mr. President,
Ms. Blythe.
I had a question, what I just thought about. If we're not going to be doing Zoom meetings, I guess, after July 1st, does that also mean that if a citizen wants to sit at home, they can't watch us on Zoom? So citizens will have to come in here also. They can't continue to watch us on Zoom from home.
So I don't know, and maybe my ICRC liaison could help me with this, if ICRC is going to continue live broadcast, but there cannot be the participation through the live broadcast after July 1st.
I can confirm that. Sorry, Mr. President.
Ms. Zorb?
I can't put 100% confidence into my answer, but I believe we would go back to the viewing. ICRC would still post our video, but it would be the delayed. And like Mr. Garvey said, it wouldn't be a live feed. But I can certainly check with them and see how they're going to handle it going forward. But I think it takes a lot more equipment to do it all live feed. So I'm not sure. I'll follow up and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, that
that?
makes sense. I was just wondering because it's probably convenient for citizens, but if it's not going to happen, no, there's no problem. I was just my curiosity. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
That's also what I was considering.
Ms. Dukes Dean, you're having a volume issue again. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
I was also thinking of the citizens too in my questioning, just opening up the availability, especially for those members that just cannot get out. So,
Well, I hope Mr. Miller Novak's explanation helped you with that.
yes.
It does sound like we could go through the process of making a charter amendment change. That would be a long process. And as of July 1st, we'll be back to in-person meetings only.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I would also like to remind Ms. Dukestein that residents do have the option of sending an email to the clerk, and then she would read it in the communications and we could address it then. So there is another alternative solution too.
Good reminder, Ms. Zorb. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's interesting.
All right,
Mr.
last
President.
call. Oh, Mr. Miller Novak, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know that. I think the thing to remember is that when it comes to the Open Meetings Act, the responsibilities are for us, not the public. So I think you'd have to ask Bill Dieters. I don't know anybody that does it, but I think theoretically speaking, you probably could have, like, the public could probably contact us through maybe teleconferencing or something like that, because they don't have a duty to be in person. I'm not sure about that, but if we're ever just concerned about people in close quarters until we're truly out of the pandemic, then I mean, that's something that Bill maybe could research. I don't really know. I think that, you know, people have made presentations at council meetings. Like, theoretically speaking, someone could make a presentation to us who's not a member, probably through some kind of video conferencing software or something like that. Say it was a nonprofit organization that wanted to give us a presentation, even pre-COVID. I think that they were able to do that through other communications means, but I think we'd want to check with Mr. Dieters on that.
Mr. Miller Novak, are you asking me to reach out to our law director and get some confirmation there?
Yeah, if you don't mind, because I'll never remember to do it.
I had already written it down, so I will send him an email this evening and get confirmation on that part around the public participation. Thank you. All right, last call for new business.
Mr. President.
Ms. DeWald.
Took a while to get to me. So I received an email from one of the board members of the North College Hill Senior Center. Miss Underwood, they did not have your city email. Did you receive that information from me? I sent you a text, and I sent you a text saying that I sent you an email regarding the city center is asking if the DAV could purchase 2 flags and 2 poles. She didn't know what the expense was, but because the information really came through me to Miss Underwood, I thought I'd bring it up. So I avoided putting it under communications because it was so convoluted.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
Ms. DeWald, I did receive your text, but I didn't receive the email. Not really sure why, but I'll follow up with you to try to figure that out.
And so the email came from my personal email, because I tried looking it up on my laptop here, but I don't have my my personal email on this laptop. So I tried to find it in my phone, and it's just swamped with personal emails, and I couldn't find it. So, but anyway, if you want to reach out to them somehow, I don't know how you want to handle that, or to DAV to see, maybe connect them up. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Ms. Zorb.
Ms. Underwood, may I suggest checking your spam? Thank you. That's all I had none.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson.
I'm going to take that little moment of silence to motion to adjourn.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb.
I will second that motion.
Motion from Ms. Anderson, second from Ms. Zorb to adjourn tonight's meeting. Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukes-Dean,
Yes.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn passes 7-0.
All right, thank you, everyone. Be on the lookout for the cicadas. I did see a news report come through that says there was a car wreck because a cicada flew into someone's face. So don't let that happen to you. This meeting is adjourned. Good
All right. Good night, everybody.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Mike, I have paperwork for you to sign.